I'm gonna be working with Castor again on haltering. So he did do some haltering when he was in the other pen, but he really hasn't seen it since then. And I really wanted to work on that again and get him leading and doing other stuff, but I thought it'd be a good idea to do that same process but in protective contact so he feels a little bit better about it. So I just start off with him targeting it. He's a little bit worried about it as it comes into his space, but he does target it. I probably should have spent a little bit more time with him targeting it over the fence or like through the fence, but that was good. Like he's reaching up to get it, so that's nice. Probably should have rewarded that before just going on to the next step, but I think like I went a little fast here just because, and I shouldn't have, but because I had put the halter on him before, so I guess I just thought that that would transfer and that he would be like, okay, I know what this is, and he didn't really. He does do a lot better with the rope halter than he does the leather halter. Like you saw before, he was a lot more worried. It might smell weird. It jingles. It could be the combination of both. The rope halter, he really generalized pretty well because when I moved him over to this pasture here, he had a different blue one on, and he figured that out, that this black one's basically the same. So these are the steps that I do to get the halter on. So targeting is going to be first, and then in stages. I like how connected he is here. He's like trying to target me. He's interested. He got a little scared there because I think it touched his nose in a weird place, but then he went and put his face back in it. So it's actually really good. I liked that recovery from the spook there. So targeting, and then I'll bring it closer to his face, then I'll just open it more and more. And really, I'd like him to put his face in on his own. And just like with the touching and the petting, I kind of meet him in the middle. Like with the targeting, I'll hold my hand up, and then he gets closer to me, and I'll kind of get closer to him, and we kind of meet. But I'd like him to kind of initiate it because he'll have a little bit more like desire to do it. They're a little bit more enthusiastic, a little less afraid, so they don't feel as trapped. So I really would like him to put his nose in there on his own. And a lot of horses are a little sensitive about their nose, especially underneath. They can't see there, so it's a little scary. They feel like something's grabbing them there. But I just start by having him put like the end of his chin kind of under the throat latch area, like he is here, and then clicking while it's touching him and then taking it off and feeding. And then I gradually just shape that behavior to where he's putting his head and his nose into the noseband area. And then from there, I start moving my hands up closer and closer to his ears and then up over his poll like that. That was perfect. And that works really well because I can just let go, he can just leave, and then I have like the rope there. And another thing about it is that his head is low, so I can't do that if his head's up high, but that's going to tell me how he feels about this whole process too. He keeps his neck nice and low, he's thinking, he's not getting a whole lot of tension, then this will work out nicely. So if your horse's head's really high, then we've gone too fast and we need to go back some steps. So this looks fantastic. He's got a little, like, work through a little bit things. I think he's a little bit tense here. There we go. So I just backed up. I took it down his face, and then he's like, oh, okay, put my nose in here. And he figured it out. He was fine. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just go back a step. Don't try to force it on. Don't try to put it on or go further than that spot where you find that tension, because he's still going to be worried about it next time. Just because you put the halter on means nothing if the next time he's afraid of it now. So but I'm doing a little bit of desensitizing with the ears as well because I have to kind of drag it over his ears. So that's going to be an important part, especially if the horse is a little bit worried about having their ears touched. So you might have to do a lot of targeting with your hand going over their ears. Castor was pretty good, so but it might take a little bit longer for a horse that's a little touchy about it. But I like how he's interacting with me here between like times where I'm asking him to go his face in the halter. He's doing really well. Because from here, I'll just kind of start moving the halter up more and more, and then I'll bring the crown piece all the way around, and then I like to do like a pretend knot where I just kind of move my hands and kind of stimulate making the knot, but without actually attaching it, and then from there, I'll like loop it through, take it off, and then practice the fake knot, loop it through, take it off. And then I'll go ahead and do the actual knot, I'll click, I'll take it off, and then I'll build up the amount of time that he actually has the halter on his face. So the one thing I would worry about this or caution about this is that I did the rope halter with Castor because he generalized that well. He went well with that. I would be careful though if there's like any kind of fear in there that you think he might get real worried once it was on. I wouldn't use the rope halter. So Castor has been doing really, really well staying here. Like, he wants to come up to the fence, he wants to participate. The food is a high enough reinforcer for him, so I wasn't worried that he was going to run off and then he end up getting tangled or something. We don't want that. So if you think that that could happen, then I wouldn't use the rope halter. It shouldn't if you're using this step-by-step process where he's touching it, he wants to target the halter, he wants to come and interact with you and earn reinforcement, he wants to be near you, that you should be fine. But sometimes it might be scary once it's actually on their face, and then he might want to run, and then he could get caught in something potentially. You could also make the rope halter into a breakaway halter if you just tie like a little piece of twine. I would probably do like, it's a little worried there. It's all right. I just went ahead and take it off. A little piece of leather like over the loop, and then go ahead and tie your knot onto that instead of the actual loop that the halter it has, and then just in case it'll pop off. So I probably should have done that here. I was probably too um, confident that he was going to stay. So, but I would definitely do that just in case. But another good thing about the rope halter, or haltering in this manner in general, would be that when that halter comes down, I'm just going to do a little petting review here in between, which he did really well. Like when I take this off, I kind of let it swing, like right there. It kind of swings away, and we're going to get a little bit of desensitizing done to where he's going to get used to the lead rope, because that lead rope's going to be dangling underneath their chin, and he'll kind of get used to that. Same with this. I like to pull it over every single time over the fence so he kind of sees that rope drag across, and then he'll see me bring it up. So I like that a lot. I'm just trying to get him in a better position here. He was a little too close. It was making it hard to get the halter on in the right spot. That looks awesome. See, it's just like a gradual progression to get to this spot. So I just slowly, like inch by inch, just made it to where now I can almost tie the halter. And he has had the halter on before. You've seen that video before. Um, and that whole process, and he did well. He got a little scared. Like here, he's a little scared. He kind of ended up in there. So I probably shouldn't have tried to pull it on his face here. Probably should have just taken away and tried again, because he was like, he kind of ran into it a little bit and got scared. That's all right. So I should have just taken it off and not tried him, or asked him to try harder, but that's okay. Well, now we know for next time. But I like how he's kind of pushing his nose down into the halter. He's thinking in the right direction. I'd like them to like be self-haltering, because then they do it with some enthusiasm. They're excited about it. Okay, so I've moved on, and I've put two clips together here because we're doing the same exact thing, just different halters. It's just the next day. So I just put it into one so we don't have to watch a million videos of me haltering Castor. Same thing, different halter. He generalizes pretty well. I still am going to kind of go from the beginning. I'm not going to just try to put it on his head right away. But I do skip a few steps. So like I didn't go ahead and just stick this almost to the point of tying it like I did with that black halter, because I did that over time, but I am going to start with just the nose. So I didn't start by targeting it. I skipped a few steps, but not a ton. Uh, Especially with them in the beginning, I don't want to do that. If you have a domestic horse, obviously, probably don't even have to do this unless it has a major fear about the halter or bridling, something like that. I would use the same process for bridling as well, because it'll work almost the same. I would just like focus on the bit part, and when they touch their mouth to the bit, reward, and then once they start like mouthing it or opening their lips, I would shape that and work into putting it in their mouth. So that would be the only difference. It's pretty much, other than that, the same. So he's pretty much good with this blue halter. It's a little bit different. It doesn't have the like the end part that ties is separated, so there's like two strings. So it kind of maybe has a little bit more movement, but it's not as stiff as that black halter. So I don't know if he prefers one or the other, but it doesn't really matter. I kind of used this blue one because it was really soft. I didn't want to put too much pressure on them. I know it's a rope halter, but I didn't want it to be too scary. He was not having anything to do with the leather halter or the nylon halter, so I went with rope, and he was doing well with that. So that's what we did. There we go. So I did go back few steps than we did the day before, but now I'm already back to the point that I was at the day before. So that's a good example of kind of not necessarily starting over, but just doing a little review before I try to teach something new. So we're just gonna let him hang out for a second, and those times are important. So it's a little bit boring when you're watching it on the video and you're like, okay, like we know what you're trying to do, and we can fast forward through that part. That's fine. But I like to leave a few of these in just to show that how important having that horse, giving that horse time to just relax and chill and like chew and think things over is really important. So I do leave a couple of those in there. So that looks really good. He does look overall a lot less tense than he did the day before. He looks really relaxed. He's kind of pushing his head and his nose down into the halter a bit more. He's not moving as much, like moving his feet. So I like all of that. And it's good here where I'm just hanging out with him that he just has me close to him. So the most important behavior that I want my horses to know is just stop and stand and relax next to me. And that's what we're practicing right here. So it works out really well. It does multiple different things that are all really good. So here I'll kind of do my pretend knot, move it a little bit, and then I'll just make that a little bit bigger, like movement with my hands, and then I'll actually tie it. So again, we'll just hang out. Responding well when I bring the halter up, like up over that panel. That looks really good. So I'm doing my pretend knot there. I click while I'm doing that, and then feet. So I like that. I like that I can lift both my arms over the panel and he's not afraid, and then I can kind of scoop his nose and he's not afraid of that. So all of that looks perfect. I like to do a lot of exaggerated movements like that, like getting the hay off myself. I don't really care that all the hay's on me. I'm just trying to get him used to my hands moving around, and I'm gonna move. I'm not gonna just stand there all the time. I want him to get used to that, because in the beginning they were really fearful of any move that I made. So just doing a bit of extra desensitizing there. I was waiting there because he was chewing some hay. It was getting stuck in the halter. There we go. A little practice knot and then take it off again. That looks great. I mean, I like the next step would really be just tying it on just for a second and taking it off, and they can kind of get used to it actually being on their face. Usually they're not afraid of it, they just think it's a little weird, but just kind of depends on your horse. So, and I'll just kind of hold it there. That was great. That was really nice. I just kind of slid the rope through the loop and just let it hold for a second and then clicked and fed. That was perfect. He wants to touch it on his own. That's great. You can also use the start button with this, where he targets a cone, or he targets your hand or the halter, and then you go ahead and put it on him. Some more fearful horses might want to do that with. There we go. Actually did the knot. Perfect. That's awesome. So Castor had already had the halter on just a little bit, but if your horse might be a little bit more afraid, I would do the knot and then take it off right away and click while it's on, and then kind of build up and then take it off really quickly. But for him, he'd had it on and he was already kind of cool with it, so I didn't do that. But that is an option. But I want having the halter on to be super rewarding. Like, they think, oh, the halter's on and I get all these snacks, it's great. Like, I really want to put that halter on, so whenever they see it, they want to put their nose in it. That's the goal. Same thing with the bridle. We want it to be super rewarding. Just gonna get lots of reinforcement here. He's standing perfectly while I undo my knot. That looks fantastic. Then we're gonna whip out the leather halter, which is very scary. And we're gonna kind of repeat a lesson with that. And we're just gonna kind of cruise through it a little bit because you've kind of already seen it, I just wanted to show you his progress on it, and he's doing pretty well. He's getting his chin resting on the throat latch area, which is perfect, which we started out doing with that rope halter too. Oh, we got a little scared there, it's okay. We're just gonna pretend it didn't happen and keep going. I don't want to trap him, I want to take it away. There we go, that was nice. But I'm just cruising through this a little bit because there's a lot more repetition because he is more worried about it. So that was nice. Because you can see he puts it in there, but he kind of leans his body back and his neck and nose out. So he's not as comfortable with it yet. That was great. That was a really nice one. And again, we'll just do step by step until his nose goes in there, and then I can start moving my hand up over his ears. But you can tell the difference in like his body language from this halter versus the blue or the black rope halter. He's got a lot more lean. He kind of moves his front feet a little bit. He's had a couple little hops, like there he backed up again. There we go. So I just asked him again because I don't want that little jump back to be part of the behavior. Good. I'll take that. Nice. But yeah, you can just kind of rewind and see the difference in the body language. It's really important to notice those differences. But he's doing better. See, he hesitated there, thought about it. He's like, not so sure. There we go. And he did well, so he's getting there. He's just a little bit more afraid of this one, and your horse might be a little bit more afraid of all the halters, so you might have to break it down to this amount. Luckily, I only had to do it with this halter, but he was really good.